everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Lori. This is my first ever reading vlog. I have 4 books I'm planning to read in September that I'm really excited about. So I wanted to go ahead and share my thoughts with you along the way. The first one is going to be A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I've already read her Letters of Enchantment duology and I love it. It's an absolute favorite of mine. So I wanted to go ahead and give some of her other work a try. I'm only 25 pages in, I believe, 1 chapter, but I have great feelings already. We're following Jack, who was born on the Isles and then moves to the mainland as a child, goes to the university for music, and then 10 years after he moves there is summoned back to the Isles to hopefully help stop some disappearances that have been happening. But so far, I'm loving the writing style. The setting is really pulling me in. The descriptions, we're getting some interesting information about the Isles that I'm very intrigued about. But like I said, I've only read 1 chapter, so I will go ahead and keep you all updated. Alright, it's the next day. I wanted to go ahead and give an update while keeping as spoiler-free as possible. I'm about 25% in, and I'm really still loving it so far. But we have 2 clans on the Isle. We have the Breckons and the Tamerlanes, who don't get along. But our main character, Jack, is a Tamerlane, and when he gets to the Isle, he heads to the castle, where he assumes he was summoned by the Lord of Tamerlane, Alistair. But we find out he was actually summoned by Alistair's daughter, Adara, who also happens to be Jack's childhood enemy. But we find out Adara summoned Jack because only a bard can get the spirits of the Isle to physically manifest, and they believe that there are good spirits and bad spirits on the Isle, and that these bad spirits are the reason why these girls have been disappearing, because they are elemental spirits who can move trees, mountains, water, everything but the roads. And they basically believe they've caused these young girls to wander off and get lost or wander off, and they've taken them. And they're hoping that since Jack is a music student at the university, he can help bring these girls back. But it's just been so interesting hearing how alive this Isle feels. We're hearing about how the wind whispers and gossips and carries news throughout. Everyone already knew he was there before they saw him because the wind told them. And we've also got 2 new POVs. We've got Torin, who is like the captain of the guard for Tamerlane, and his wife Sidra. They've been fun to read about. We've only got 2 or 3 chapters for them, but I found their chapters really interesting. We've also got some fun new side characters I'm excited to see more of. But yeah, like I said, this world already has me pulled in. I'm loving the lore. We're hearing more legends about the spirits of the Isle, and yeah, I'm just excited to keep reading. So I will go ahead and keep you updated when something else happens. Alright, I'm back with another update. I am a little over halfway through, and we're finally getting more of the romance element. It's still definitely more fantasy mystery to me than it is romance. But the couple's been really enjoyable so far. They are childhood enemies who in present day really feel more like acquaintances with like a slight dislike than they do enemies. But they're still really fun. There's no insta-love, nothing like that. We're also getting to learn more about enchantments and the magic system and how humans actually wield magic through their craft, through making enchanted weapons, enchanted clothing, through the music they play. And that's been really intriguing to me. I've been enjoying that. Also, we're seeing how the spirits really have a hand in everything that goes on the Isle and everybody's lives. We see some background for Torin and Sidra and how the spirits created these like rare circumstances that actually brought them together when usually they would never really interact. And I thought that was a lot of fun to be able to see just how much influence these spirits actually have. We've also added 2 more POVs, and the POV changes are fairly frequent. We get a decent amount of everybody who has a POV. The only issue for me has been that the POV changes, instead of being like every chapter is a POV, it's changes mid-chapter. And for the most part, it's been fine. It's said right at the beginning who we're following, but when it doesn't, and you got to kind of read and figure out who it is you're following, I can get a little confused. But for the most part, that hasn't happened. It's only happened once or twice. So yeah, I'm still really loving this, still have great feelings about it. I'm not sure if I'll update again at like 75% or if I will just go ahead and finish this. But I will go ahead and update when I have something else. All right, I have finished A River Enchanted, and I am very happy to say it was 5 stars. I thought the writing style was beautiful. The Isle was enchanting to read about. It's actually in a note at the end that the author started off with the Isle, and then the characters were inspired from the Isle, which I found really interesting. And I feel like you can tell the Isle has such a big role in this story. We don't get to see the spirits physically most of the time, but we get glimpses in situations of how they're involved and how they helped create these circumstances, and I think that was really fun to read about. And there's lore and legends, and I just really enjoyed this world. We also got more of the romance aspect. I feel like it's more of a fantasy, I felt, than a romance, but we do have 2 couples. We have our main couple, Jack and Adara, and then we have Torin and Sidra. And I actually prefer Torin and Sidra. I feel like they're older and more mature, and their storyline was more interesting to me. It was, more different than the typical fantasy romance storyline. And Sidra's probably my favorite character in the entire story, so I'm sure that probably has something to do with it too. And Jack and Adara were great, don't get me wrong, but I really felt like Torin and Sidra were the stars for me, romance-wise. We also got to see a lot of characters growing and healing both individually and as couples, growing together and apart. And I just really enjoyed following them, following their journey. And there were a few twists. Some of them were more on the predictable side, but a few of them definitely got me. I found all of them enjoyable to read about. And the only issue I would say I had with this book was the mid-chapter POV changes. It got a little confusing at times who we were following. For the most part, it was fine, but there were a few instances where I got a little lost as to who I was supposed to be following. And yeah, overall, I loved it. 5 stars. I have already started the second book, A Fire Endless. I'm only like 75 pages in, but I'm really enjoying it so far. We have jumped ahead in time about a month, and we have a new conflict going on because the original conflict is pretty much resolved in the first book, for the most part. I can't say too much without spoiling, but we have a new conflict going on that I still find really interesting to read about. And the first book is pretty well summarized. The important points are pretty well summarized in the second book in the first few chapters, and that's always nice to have a refresher on that. And yeah, I'm really excited to keep reading. I'm nervous because I really love these characters and I don't want anything to happen to them, but I'm gonna keep reading and I will let you know when I have something else to add. Alright, I am back with another update as well as a little book haul, but we will do the update first in case you're not interested in the book haul. I have just got to part 2, about 30% of the way through, still really enjoying this. We started to see more of the west side of the Isle and the Breckons and how their customs and traditions differ from the Tamerlanes, as well as how magic acts a little bit differently and the spirits of the Isle act a little bit differently on the west side of the Isle. We've also gotten to see more of the spirit realm a bit, learn more about their hierarchy and how things are run there. And it's been really fun to get to see all of the different parts of this Isle and how they work. We've also started to see our characters learn and change and grow to adapt to the new roles they have on the Isle, because most of them have gone through a pretty drastic change throughout this story and have had to take on a new role. I can't say too much, I don't want to spoil. But it's always fun to get to see a character's journey and their growth. And we also do have our 2 main characters separated by distance. The main couple is separated by distance, at least so far in this book. And I know from reviews of other series I've read, a lot of people don't like that. So if you're not a fan of that, you might want to skip this one. But yeah, it's starting to pick up. It's starting to get a little bit scary. I'm nervous again, but yeah, I'm very excited to keep reading, and I will keep you updated on that. But for now, we will go ahead and get into a little birthday book haul. I got a few books, not enough for its own video, so I just wanted to share them here. First up, I have Servant of Earth by Sarah Hawley. And I've heard some things about this one from people who I feel have similar book taste to me. So I'm really excited to give this a try. From what I understand, it's about a servant in a fey court who has to help her mistress get through trials, or else they both die. I think this sounds really interesting and really fun. I'm excited for that one. Next up we have The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. which is a pretty popular YA series that I have yet to read and I've wanted to read for a while. It says Jude was 7 when her parents were murdered and she and her 2 sisters were stolen away to live in the treacherous High Court of Fairy. 10 years later, Jude wants nothing more than belong there, but many of the Fae despise humans, especially Prince Cardan, the youngest and wickedest son of the High King. To win a place at the court, Jude must defy him and face the consequences. And I think this could be something I really like. I hope I will, and I will continue on in this series. And next up, we have Nightshade by Autumn Woods. And I'm kind of nervous for this one. This is not what I thought it was when I bought it. It's my own fault. I should have read the synopsis, but I've seen a couple people talk about this. I thought it sounded interesting. I was under the impression it was a dark academia gothic fantasy, and now I'm thinking it's actually a dark mafia romance, which I've never read something like that. So I'm a little nervous, but I've liked many different kinds of books. There's very few books I've really actually disliked. So yeah, I think I'm going to give this a shot sometime in October. I think that's when I would be most likely to like this. And yeah, who knows, I might find a new genre I like, so I will keep you updated on that. And lastly, I have Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. And as you know from these reviews, I really enjoy Rebecca Ross's work, and I'm really excited to get to this one. It's, I guess, like a Divine Rivals prequel kind of. It's set in the same world, but I think it's like years before, and it's about a goddess and a human man, I believe. But yeah, I don't really have any pretty books either, so I love this dust jacket, but also the hardcover with the character art I just think is so pretty. So I'm really excited about this one. I'm sure I'll really enjoy it. I've enjoyed so many of her other books. And yeah, that is all of them. And I probably can't say too much about A Fire Enchanted, but I will keep you updated if anything else comes up. Alright, I am back with another update. I have just gotten to part 3. And I have been really loving seeing Jack making these family connections again because, you know, he's been away at the mainland for 10 years alone with no family. So he has these kind of complicated, strained family relationships that we get to see grow and connect again, and I've been loving that. He talks about how he's been craving these connections this whole time and didn't even realize it. I'm just really loving that aspect of it. We also have, I don't know if I've mentioned it, but Torin and Adara are cousins, and they seem really close, as well as her and Sidra. And so I'm just really loving this whole big family aspect of this book. I'm also really starting to appreciate Adara more. I've always liked her, but I kind of expected her to turn into the typical sassy, snarky, all-powerful FMC, and she hasn't. She comes across as very strong and smart and capable, and I'm really having a lot of fun reading her. I've also really started to enjoy both of these romances more. These partners, I feel like they really complement each other and they have great chemistry. You know, they don't get along all the time, but it would be boring if they did. But especially Torin and Jack, I feel like really respect and admire their partners, and I'm loving reading that. We're seeing Torin talking about how he has this issue he's trying to solve, and for a certain reason he cannot directly say anything to Sidra about it, but he talks about how he wants to follow her around and observe her and listen to her because he feels like she would have all the answers and she would know and she would lead him right to it, and I just think that's really sweet. And we also see Jack talking about how when Adara takes off after this guy that has wronged Jack, he talks about how he's so proud of her, and it's just really, these relationships are really sweet. And if you're the type of person that loves yearning, Torin definitely has yearning. Torin and Sidra's POV is still my favorite in this book. Both of them are great. I just find Torin and Sidra, their storyline right now is a little bit more engaging for me. It's got me really on the edge of my seat. Jack and Adara's definitely did too, not long ago, but as of right now, Torin and Sidra have got my attention still. I'm not sure if I will update again before I finish this book. I might just go ahead and finish it, but I will let you know when I have something else to add. Alright, I'm back with my final thoughts on A Fire Endless, as well as the elements of Cadence duology as a whole, and absolutely 5 stars. I loved it. It's a new favorite of mine. The world is so beautiful and enchanting. The writing style is absolutely beautiful. I was pulled into this world the entire time. This book did feel a lot more intense than the first book. It felt more action-packed and nerve-wracking. There were more like high-stakes type scenarios, more combat type scenarios, things like that. And I really was nervous right up until the very end of the book. I also feel like I got more of an appreciation for all four of our characters in this book, as well as both couples. Torrin and Sidra will always be my favorite. But this one felt more emotional, and I was a lot more invested in what would happen with all of our characters. And I also just really enjoyed the family moments that, like I talked about Jack and his family earlier, but really all of them, we get to see all of our characters forging these family connections as one big family, and it's really fun to read about. I also really liked seeing more of the Breckens and their west side of the Isle, and just the Isle as a whole and how things work, as well as seeing more of the spirit realm and kind of learning how things came to be there. And I also really liked these mischievous fae that manifest from the elements. It can kind of control them. Like, for instance, each tree has a spirit that manifests from it, and the descriptions on these fae are just really fun. I liked them a lot. And I also really enjoyed the magic system in this, with each person who wields magic wielding it through their craft, like through making clothing or weapons or music, things like that. I really thought that was interesting to read about. The POV changes seemed way easier to read in this one. I didn't notice any points where there was confusion for me as to who I was following, so I was happy to see that. And overall, I'm really sad to be done with this. I am really gonna miss these characters, but I'm so glad that I read it. And if you are looking for a beautiful, enchanting fantasy romance with a fun magic system and mischievous elemental fae, then I absolutely recommend this duology to you. But next up, I am planning to read One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, which is the first book in the Shepherd's King duology, but I have not started this book yet, so I will go ahead and let you know when I do. Alright, I have an update for One Dark Window. I'm about 25% in, but I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about what this book is about first. And we are following Elspeth Spindle, who lives in a cursed kingdom, and the curse is this mist that starts out in the forest and then it's over time spreads out across the kingdom, and it carries a magical infection. And this infection causes a fever, and then their veins turn black, and then they develop magical abilities. And the king has taught this kingdom that these magical abilities are to be feared and that these people are not safe to have around. So the king's destriers gather up anyone who is known to have had this infection, and they take them to the dungeons and kill them. And our main character, Elspeth, had this infection as a child, but she was hidden out at her aunt and uncle's house, so nobody outside of her family knows she had it. And even her family thinks that she just got the infection and it cleared up and she somehow didn't get magical abilities like everybody else did. But she actually did. She has this nightmare that lives in her head, and she gets her powers from him. And then there are also these Providence cards, which are kind of like tarot cards, and they can give anyone magical abilities, but there is a limited number of them, and they are very valuable. And one night, Elspeth is grabbed by a masked highwayman who is looking to steal these cards. And she later finds out that this man was the king's nephew, who is also captain of the destriers. And he was looking to get these cards to reunite them, because reuniting all 12 of them will cure the curse. And so far, I'm really liking this. I like this magic system. It's different from anything I've read before. I really like the moody, gothic atmosphere it has. The descriptions and the writing are really great. The nightmare is also really interesting to read about. He kind of talks in riddles, and he seems bad at first, and then he seems like he's protecting her too. I'm not really sure what to make of him yet, but I do find him really interesting. I'm also unsure who the love interest is. I thought I knew, and I still feel like I know, but I'm kind of second guessing myself because we just met another guy and I'm kind of like, am I wrong? Is it him? I don't know. The pacing has been good so far. It has moved along fairly quickly, but not like rushed. It hasn't felt like it's dragging. So yeah, I'm really liking this so far and I will keep you updated. Okay, I'm back with an update on One Dark Window. I am a little over 75% of the way in, so I'm getting close to being done with this, and I am still really enjoying it, but not as much as I had maybe hoped. I had thought it'd be a 5-star, but it's feeling more like a 4, 4.5, which is still great, but it's just not quite pulled me in the way that I thought it would. There's been one major reveal that I feel is pretty predictable and obvious, almost like it was meant to be obvious, but then it's just like frustrating that it takes her so long to figure it out and put the pieces together. But it has still been enjoyable to read. I now know for sure who our main guy is, and I do really like him and I like them together. And we have some great side characters that I feel are gonna end up being a great found family, which I always really love in a book. We're seeing more of the Nightmare and his backstory and motivations, and I find him really interesting. And I am still just really liking the feel and the atmosphere of this book, the dark, gothic feeling that's really getting me in the mood for fall. I really love that. And yeah, I'm still enjoying this. I'm thinking the second book maybe will be 5 stars because the action is really starting to pick up. It's starting to get more interesting. And I'm hoping that one will be 5 and then maybe a 5-star overall. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and finish this one up and then I will let you all know. So I have finished One Dark Window. I'm going to go ahead and give this 4 stars because I really did enjoy it, but it never like fully pulled me in. I didn't feel like the City of Blunder itself, I never felt was super detailed or well explained. The characters I liked. I liked Raven. I liked Elspeth. I kind of have mixed feelings on her. She's a little bit whiny, and it just took her so long to figure out this super obvious twist, and that was kind of frustrating to me. The side characters are really fun, but they don't stand out from other side characters I've read. They're not favorites. The same thing with the romance. I liked it, but it doesn't stand out. And it just never got me fully invested the way that I hoped to be. But there were parts of it that I really loved. I loved the Nightmare. I thought he was super interesting. I really liked watching his story unfold and getting some of his backstory and learning more about him, as well as I really loved the magic system in this. The Providence cards I found super interesting. I've personally never read a magic system similar to that. And this Cursed Mist I also really liked. I thought there were definitely aspects that really stood out, but not enough for this to be a 5-star, unfortunately. The end of this book definitely was the most exciting part to me. It got me really excited for the second book. I almost bumped it up to 4.5 because of the end of this book, but it just felt like it really got me more excited for the second book, but didn't so much improve my enjoyment of the first book. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 4 stars, but I'm very excited to continue on to the next book. I'm going to take a little break and read Zodiac Academy first. I won't be including that in this vlog, but I will catch up with you when I have started Two Twisted Crowns. Alright, I'm back, and I have now started the Two Twisted Crowns, which is the second book in the Shepherd's King duology, and it's going to be the last book in this vlog, but I am definitely enjoying this one more already. It still has that like gothic feel, but even more so, I think. It feels darker and more intense, and there's been a few moments that have just been like, ugh. And I feel like this was the perfect time to pick this book up right now in October. I'm so glad I picked it up when I did. We get multi-POV in this, which we get Elspeth in first person, and then we get Elm, who is a prince, in third person, and Raven, who is the king's nephew and captain of the Destriers, also in third person. And I really prefer this multi-POV just because I like Elspeth, but she's not like my favorite character ever. I like these other characters more, and I feel more invested now that I'm getting to know them better and I'm getting their POVs. I'm feeling more invested and engaged in this story, so I'm glad we got that. And this one just already feels more exciting and is holding my interest better. We have a possible new romance that I really think I will like, so I'm excited to see where that goes. And yeah, that's really all I have to update you on for now. I can't say too much because this is the second book in the duology, but I am going to keep reading and I will keep you updated. Alright, I'm about halfway through, so I just wanted to do a quick update. And first of all, I am so glad this is multi-POV because I feel like having Elm's POV has really given me a new appreciation for him. Like, learning his backstory, just getting to know him better, I just really do like him. I liked him in the first book, but he was nothing special. He didn't stand out. But in this one, I am liking him much more. I actually think he and the Nightmare might be my two favorite characters in this duology. I've also really liked learning more about the magic, the cards, the fever, the nightmare. We're getting more backstory on all of that, learning how all of that came to be, and I just really have found that interesting. I just feel like this book is just giving me what I wanted from the first book, and I'm so glad to finally be getting all that. We have more action, more excitement, a more dark, creepy feeling that I was really wanting from that first book, so I am really enjoying this so far. There have been more like glimpses of the romance, but this is definitely not a romance forward book. It's a fantasy forward book. So if you're wanting a lot of romance, I wouldn't recommend this one. But what we do get is really sweet, and I do really like our couple. As far as the like future twists in this book, I feel like I do see one coming, but if I'm right, I would be really intrigued to read about it, so I'm not mad about it, but I do just kind of feel like I know what's ahead. And things are just really starting to pick up. I'm a little bit nervous. We are getting some exciting action going on, so I'm going to keep reading and I will keep you all updated. All right, I'm back and I have finished Two Twisted Crowns, and I definitely preferred this one to the first book. This one's going to be 5 stars for me. It just felt darker and creepier, and really what I wanted from the first book, I felt I got in this book, so I'm very happy that I finally got that. And one of the things that I really preferred in this book was the multi-POV, getting Elm's and Raven's POVs, specifically Elm. Like, he's a new favorite character of mine in this story. Him and the Nightmare were my two favorites. And Elm, getting to know his backstory more and just getting to know him really gave me an appreciation for him, and I really liked him. So I'm very glad that we got that multi-POV in this. There also is 2 romances in this, and I actually preferred the side romance because the main romance is good, but we don't get as much of it in the second book. I didn't feel this, regardless, is not a romance forward story, so if you're looking for that, this probably isn't for you. What we do get is really nice, and I enjoyed it, but the main couple just, they felt more of your typical broody MMC, snarky FMC, and I just didn't connect to them as well as I did the side couple, but they were both good. I also really loved the magic system in this, the cards, the infection. What I really liked was the consequences also. Each card has its own consequence, and each person who is infected has like their own unique consequence. And I really liked seeing more of that and what each person deals with, what each card does. I really liked that idea, and I really had a lot of fun reading about it. The world itself wasn't my favorite. Like, the City of Blunder wasn't very exciting, wasn't very detailed. I did enjoy like the gothic dark vibe of it, but it wasn't super exciting. We did get to see more of the woods, which I preferred, but it wasn't my favorite world I've ever read about. I did guess the twist in this one, but I still really enjoyed it. It was a really gripping and exciting twist, and I'm not mad about it. It was pretty obvious. I think it was actually even just kind of basically told to us at one point, but I still really enjoyed it. I'm not mad at it. And overall, I'm going to give this duology, 4.5 stars, because I gave the first book 4, this one 5, meet in the middle, because I would honestly consider adding this second book to my favorite book list. I really enjoyed this, but the first one I would not. So I kind of have to meet them in the middle there. But yeah, if you like a darker, creepier fantasy with a side plot of romance and something great for the fall with a really fun, unique magic system and some fun side characters, I would definitely recommend this to you. But that is going to be the last book in this vlog. So I hope you enjoyed it. We've had 4 books, 2 duologies, and I rated them all 4 stars or higher. So I've had a great time in this reading vlog, and I hope maybe you found something you'd like to try out as well. Let me know your thoughts on these books down in the comments. I would love to hear what you think. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I hope to see you all in the next one.